One thing I did not check is the MIDI working, and the answer will be no. You know, while I'm futzing about with cables, let's get into questions.
Cool. Well, I want to start maybe earlier on in your career and your sort of musical life. So, I was reading that your early kind of pathway to guitar was actually through some kind of competition with your sister, and then maybe latterly seeing the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was a hell of a motivator. Back in my day, we had 3 channels on TV, black and white TVs. That's how old I am, it's amazing. And the Beatles came to America, and it was all the rage in everybody's household. And I was one of those 5 or 6 year olds watching that and going, oh my God, my brain has just been cracked wide open. It's the coolest thing I ever saw. And my favorite Beatle was George, because I liked his eyebrows. That's how you think when you're 5. It wasn't well, of course it was the music, but yeah, my sister had a guitar and I didn't, so I was jealous, and that was the next thing I wanted for my birthday or Christmas was a guitar. And it was super cool. Way back then, it's obviously way different now, but back then, kids didn't get electric guitars. You got an acoustic guitar, because that way you didn't have to buy an amp. And I took lessons right away, and I feel sorry for that teacher all these years later, because the first lesson, my dad was in the room and my sister was in the room. It was kind of a group thing. And if you've ever taught guitar, that's a lot of pressure. And I was very young, and the guy was trying to teach me to use a pick, and I didn't want to use a pick, and I cried. So it's like, on top of all that, the kid's crying, what the hell are you going to do? And after working with Jeff Beck, I go, man, I still wish I wasn't using a pick, but I did use a pick all these years. Okay, the MIDI is back. What I was trying to do in one of those areas, I'll explain my gear right now. It looks like a ridiculous mess, but it's very simple. I was telling him earlier, I got a Line 6 Helix at the beginning of the year, and I spent 2 months programming it, and I thought this is the coolest thing ever. I was testing out all these new amp models, and I'll back up a little bit. I used to do a lot of clinics for Digitech, and it was a very early modeling, and I didn't love it. I mean, I loved the effects, and I loved a lot of things about Digitech, but compared to a real amp, it was really lacking. You couldn't roll back on the volume and get a great clean tone. And so I'm a very late adopter to the new generation of amp models. And so I got the Helix, and I spent about 2 months programming and experimenting and listening. It takes, I mean, you get something like 300 amps. That's a lot of listening and a lot of playing to see what you like. And I'm just honestly on the beginning of the journey, but I found some things I like. And I did one fly date